So now let's take a look at session.js. Alright, so notice at the top here, we actually include these helpers in /users and /sessions. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but basically these are our objects that we use to access MongoDB. So it's a user's data access object and a session's data access object. So this kind of tells us that the session handler really needs access to the user's collection and the sessions collection. So let's take a look at a little bit about how it's using this. So I'm going to skip over a lot of this because it's not as important for the homework, but I just want to sort of cover how this fits in. So down here, say users and sessions as our data access objects, and all of our functions are implemented using these objects. So we actually have this isLoggedIn middleware uses the sessions object and calls the getUsername function, which I'll show you when we actually look at the sessions.js file. So if we look down here, we have this other function, handleLoginRequest, takes a username and a password as post variables. So request.body, because we registered the body parser, it will be populated with post variables. So we have request.body.username, request.body.password. These are post variables that we registered in our form. So here we just call users.validateLogin. So just like with the sessions object, users is a data access object with methods that interact with MongoDB. So here we have a validateLogin function, takes a username and password, and returns our user. So you don't really need to know how this works, but I just wanted to show you kind of how these pieces fit together. So this is our sessions data access object. Takes a connected database object. Down here it uses it to connect to the sessions collection. And we have this .start session and other functions attached to this, so that what this will return is an object that actually has all of these helper functions. So let's take a look at how some of these are implemented. So this is the sessions data access object .start session, and it's a function that takes a username and a callback. So notice this isn't doing any validation. The job of the sessions collection is actually just to keep track of users so they don't have to log in on every single page. So we do a bunch of stuff here to generate the session ID. We create a session document and we just insert it. So now if we go down here, we see the end session function. So all this does is finds based on the session ID, which is stored in the cookie. I didn't cover that, but that's how this function gets called. And we just remove the session document. So this is basically when a user logs out, we call sessions data access object.endSession. Alright, so now this is the sessions data access object.getUsername. So this takes a session ID, which we've also got from the cookie, and a callback. So if we look down here, we actually do sessions.findOne ID session ID, and we check to see if we've gotten a session. So if we do get a session, we return session.username, and this will call back into the code that's using this function. So I haven't talked about this much, but notice the way we implement this function is also with a callback. So just like a lot of the other functions we use, like findOne, this one is going to be used with a callback and is asynchronous.